Every generation gets one moment. One moment when the future stops knocking politely and instead kicks the door wide open for the XRP army. That moment is now. Because in the span of 10 days, two of the most powerful monetary forces on earth collide with math, history, and destiny. On November 22nd, the world's banking system performs a once-in-history hard cutover. Legacy rails to ISO 20022 digital messaging. Not a beta test. Not optional. A single-day global switchover. At most, 4 days later, the Clarity Act is projected to be signed into law. A law that does something Washington hasn't done in 90 years. It ends Wall Street's ability to manipulate digital assets with wash trading, secrecy, and offshore games. In just 1 week, the rails become digital, the law becomes transparent, and the money becomes honest. Into this moment, let's look at 3 giants: Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, 21 shares, together managing over $1.6 trillion. Canary Capital, tiny by comparison, launched the first XRP spot ETF, and in 3 days, it did 105 million in volume. Now imagine what happens when these big 3, with over 5,000 times more assets, step onto the field. Let's be conservative. Let's say Franklin, Bitwise, and 21 shares don't do 1,000 times more. Not 100 times more. Not even 50. Just 10 times the volume Canary did in its first 3 days. That's about $1 billion in XRP trading. Even at 25% net inflows, that means about 119 million XRP must be purchased within 72 hours. But here's the spine-tingling twist. The majority of XRP is locked, staked, escrowed, institutionally held, or never moving. Best estimates are 4 billion XRP exist in the hands of everyday retail investors. That's the majority of liquid supply. And if ETFs need XRP, they'll need to buy most of it from retail. From us. From the XRP army. Here's the math. 119 million XRP needed from a 4 billion XRP retail pool. That's 2.2% of all retail XRP drained in 3 days. And if inflows hit a more aggressive case, that's 4.4% of all retail supply. History shows that when XRP loses even 0.4% of its liquid supply, like during the whale accumulation spike earlier this year, prices jumped 12% in a single day. Now multiply that supply pressure by 5 or 10. That's not a price move. That's an eruption. You can measure XRP's circulating supply. You can measure its daily volume. You can measure the ETFs, the inflows, the liquidity. But there's one thing the analysts can't measure: conviction. The XRP army is not a normal crypto community. It is disciplined. It is military. It is faithful. It is convicted. It does not break easily. and it will not likely sell cheaply. So when trillion-dollar institutions try to buy from holders who have waited as much as a decade, who endured the SEC trial, who lived through suppression and shadow bans, they're not buying from tourists. They're buying from true believers. And true believers will not hand over XRP at $2 or $3 or maybe even $10. When forced buyers meet unwilling sellers, the price does not move gradually. It leaps. It gaps. It reprices to the level where sellers finally appear. With ETFs inhaling millions of XRP and retail refusing to give them up, the order books thin, market makers pull back, shorts get liquidated, and the ETFs must buy even more at even higher prices. This is how Bitcoin went from $1,000 to $20,000. This is how Ethereum went from $100 to $4,000. This is how gold surged in the era of GLD. Supply shocks are not theory. They are history. And now, for the first time in digital asset history, three forces converge simultaneously. The world's financial plumbing goes fully digital on November 22nd. The Clarity Act is set to outlaw market manipulation, wash trading, and synthetic supply, creating true, honest price discovery. And massive institutional ETFs begin absorbing XRP from a tiny 4 billion unit retail pool. This is the moment the XRP army has waited for. The moment when suppressed value is forced into the light, when liquidity becomes integrity, when truth meets mathematics. So now the question becomes, when trillions of dollars of institutions must buy, and the only place they can get XRP is from you and me, at what price do we finally decide to sell? Some will sell early. Some will wait. Some will never sell at all. But one thing is certain. For the first time in history, the buyers need us more than we need them. The supply shock is real. The dates are set. The math is unforgiving. The demand is imminent. And the XRP army is ready. It's no longer a question of if, only when and at what price. XRP finds its true value